At 82, I've learned a lot about life, its intricate patterns of joy and sorrow. But there's one singular decision that casts a long, deep shadow of regret over my later years, the decision I made to move into a nursing home. At the time, perhaps a little younger and certainly less wise about these specific, weighty matters, it seemed like the most sensible, almost inevitable choice. My family, their hearts undoubtedly in the right place, gently encouraged it. They painted a picture of comprehensive care, of constant comfort and safety, and I, wanting to believe them and perhaps to alleviate the unspoken worries I sensed they carried for me, agreed to the move. But once I crossed that threshold, once the door closed behind me, I discovered that the lived reality was a stark, often painful, contrast to everything I had envisioned or been led to expect. It wasn't long after I arrived that the stark reality of my new existence began to unfold, a world far removed from the gentle reassurances I had received. I know that many of you listening may be contemplating this very path, either for yourselves or for someone dear to you. Perhaps it seems like the safest haven, or you've been assured it will make life less burdensome. Before you take such a monumental step, I feel compelled to share 6 critical insights, 6 truths I wish had been whispered to me before I made that life-altering transition. Life within the walls of a nursing home is not merely a matter of convenience or accessible care, it is a profound shift that redefines everything. And once you enter, the path leading out is rarely as straightforward as one might believe. Please lend me your ear, for these reflections might illuminate aspects you haven't considered, and if you know someone at this crossroads, this may be the perspective they need. Regret 1. The erosion of independence, the most immediate and jarring realization upon moving into the nursing home, wasn't the confined space of my room, the rigid meal schedules, or even the constant presence of unfamiliar faces. It was the profound, sinking feeling of having lost control over the fundamental aspects of my own life. In my own home, my days unfolded according to my own rhythms and preferences. I dictated when I would rise, what I would eat, and how I would spend my precious hours. A spontaneous stroll, the simple joy of preparing a familiar meal. Or an afternoon lost in a good book in my favourite armchair, these were the hallmarks of my autonomy. Within the nursing home, however, my time ceased to be my own. The entire institution operated on a timetable that was not of my making. Breakfast was served at a fixed hour, irrespective of my hunger. Lights were extinguished at a set time. Regardless of my readiness for sleep, a simple desire for a walk outside became a request, requiring permission, often followed by a lengthy wait for an available staff member. Decisions as basic as what to eat from a limited menu, or even what to wear if I needed assistance, transformed from inherent choices into privileges granted by others. I vividly recall that first disorienting week, waking in a bed that felt alien, in a room devoid of my personal history. My books, my cherished chair, the small comforts accumulated over a lifetime, all were gone, replaced by sterile walls and a profound sense of displacement. The realization that I was no longer the conductor of my own life was a heavy burden. You learn to adapt, to surrender your preferences to the institutional routine, but in doing so, a part of you begins to fade. If you are considering such a move, ask yourself, are you truly prepared to relinquish those small, daily acts of freedom that define your existence? Their absence creates a void more profound than you can currently comprehend. Regret 2, the sting of feeling forgotten. One of the most painful truths of nursing home life is the dawning awareness that the world outside, your world, continues its relentless pace without you, upon my arrival. My family offered heartfelt reassurances of frequent visits. Promises I clung to with hope. In the beginning, their presence was a comforting regularity. My daughter would visit weekly, and my grandchildren on weekends, small anchors to the life I had known. but as the months unspooled, the frequency of these visits gradually, almost imperceptibly, diminished. Phone calls began to replace in-person connections. As my daughter juggled the demands of her own life, my grandchildren, understandably, became more engrossed in their studies and budding careers. Holidays, once a time of joyous family gatherings, became particularly poignant. Promises to visit were made with genuine affection, yet often last-minute changes left me sitting alone in the common room. I would watch other residents, their eyes also fixed on the door, each hoping for a familiar face, a reminder that they were still remembered, still cherished. It wasn't a waning of love that kept them away, it was the relentless current of life that simply carried on. When you are no longer a daily presence in their lives, it becomes easier for others to assume you are adjusting, that your needs are being met. But the truth is, the longer you are in such a place, the more deeply you feel the need for that connection. I remember an evening, phone in hand, debating whether to call my son, torn between the desire for contact and the fear of being a burden. I put the phone down, and the weight of my new reality settled upon me, a life spent watching days pass, hoping for inclusion. If you are considering this path, ask yourself, are you prepared for the potential loneliness, for the subtle drift that can occur even with the most loving family? Regret 3. The loss of purpose. When I moved into the nursing home, I mistakenly believed I was merely changing my physical location. I didn't fully grasp that I was also fundamentally altering my reason for living at home. My days were filled with purpose, however small, responsibilities, routines, and hobbies that gave me a reason to greet each morning. Watering my plants, brewing my own coffee, tidying my personal space, these simple acts provided a sense of accomplishment and meaning. In the nursing home, these daily rituals vanished. Meals were provided, cleaning was done by others, and the small responsibilities that had defined my days were no longer mine. Initially, I tried to embrace the idea of rest, of freedom from chores, but after a few weeks, a profound sense of emptiness began to set in. The days stretched before me, long and unstructured. Filled with little more than waiting, I observed this same listlessness in other residents. Individuals once vibrant and energetic, now spending their hours in quiet resignation. I recall a gentleman named George, an 84-year-old carpenter. At home, his hands were always busy, creating and repairing. Here, there were no tools, no projects. Nothing to engage his lifelong skills. I feel useless, he confided in me one day. His voice heavy with unspoken grief. I understood his sentiment completely. When you no longer have something to care for, something to work towards, life can begin to lose its color and meaning. The mind may slow, the body may follow, and you can start to feel like just another number in a system where time passes, but nothing truly changes. If you are considering this, ask yourself, what gives your life meaning now? For finding purpose within those walls is not about filling time, but about fighting to hold onto what makes you feel alive. Regret 4. The accelerated decline in health. Before I moved, I was managing well for my age. I wasn't running marathons, but I was capable of self-care, enjoyed my walks, and cooked my own meals. My routines, including grocery shopping and light exercises, kept me active and my body relatively strong. Once I was in the nursing home, this began to change insidiously. At first, it seemed like I was simply taking it easy. Meals were brought to me, eliminating the need to stand and cook. If I needed something, a push of a button would summon help. What I didn't realize was that the less I did for myself, the weaker I became. My movement decreased significantly, and soon my legs felt stiffer, my energy lower, sitting for prolonged periods became the norm. And even rising from a chair started to feel like a laborious task, the muscle tone I had. maintained for years seemed to vanish with alarming speed. This wasn't unique to me. I saw others who had walked and independently become reliant on wheelchairs. People who had managed their own needs now required assistance with simple tasks. It was as if the more help we received, the more we needed. My neighbour, Alice, an active 81-year-old upon arrival, remarked after a few months, "I feel like I aged 10 years. When you cease to use your body actively, you begin to lose its capabilities." In an environment designed for ease, it's easy to forget that movement is not just for convenience, it's vital for survival. Had I known how quickly my strength would wane, I would have fought harder to remain active. Ask yourself, will you maintain the drive to keep your body strong when life is made effortless? Regret 5. The surrender of privacy and dignity. One aspect I hadn't fully contemplated before moving was the profound loss of privacy I would endure. At home, my space was my sanctuary. I could close my door, seek solitude, and manage my personal affairs on my own terms. In the nursing home, privacy became a rare and precious commodity. From the moment I arrived, I felt a constant sense of being observed. Staff moved in and out of my room, often with little more than a cursory knock. Scheduled room checks and shared common areas meant I was seldom truly alone, even simple. Personal acts like dressing or using the bathroom often required assistance, which, while offered as care, felt like an intrusion. I recall my initial struggle with having to ask permission for things I had done independently my entire life. Wanting a shower might mean waiting for staff availability. Needing the restroom could involve a lengthy wait after pressing the call button. Meal choices were limited, and personal preferences often went unheeded. The issue of roommates also loomed large. Not everyone is afforded a private room, and sharing a confined space with a stranger, not of your choosing, can be deeply unsettling. While my own roommate was kind, I heard stories of loud, inconsiderate, or unwell roommates making life unbearable for others, no matter how you try. The room never truly feels like your own. Dignity is a fragile thing, easily eroded. When staff enter without truly waiting for an answer, when you are addressed more as a patient than a person, when your routines are dictated by an institutional schedule, it changes you. You begin to feel less like yourself. If you are considering this, ask, are you prepared to relinquish the privacy and control you've always known? Regret 6. The difficulty of leaving. When I first moved into the nursing home, I convinced myself it was a temporary measure. I thought I would try it, see how it went, and if it wasn't suitable, I could always leave. What I didn't realize, what no one truly emphasized, was how incredibly difficult it would be to extricate myself once I was settled in. The simple idea of just going back home became complicated. My house sat empty, and maintaining it from a distance proved challenging. My children, with my best interests at heart, had already begun to make changes, selling items they thought I wouldn't need, even considering renting it out. When I broached the subject of returning, their hesitation was palpable. Are you sure you can manage? Compounding this was my own physical decline. After months of reduced activity, where I didn't need to cook, clean, or walk much, I wasn't as strong as I once was. The independence that might have allowed me to live alone again had slipped away, making the prospect of returning home more daunting than I had ever imagined. Fear and a loss of confidence kept me there. I met others who shared this experience, who thought the nursing home was a short-term solution, only to find leaving an insurmountable hurdle. The longer you stay, the harder it becomes to readjust to life outside. For some, their homes were sold or savings depleted by the high cost of care, leaving no option to return. Moving in can feel like a reversible decision, but for many, it becomes a one-way street. Ask yourself, are you prepared for the possibility that leaving might not be as simple as you think? Looking back, my deepest regret isn't growing older, but believing a nursing home was my only recourse. I expected comfort and safety. Instead, I found a gradual stripping away of self. This isn't to say all nursing homes are deficient. Some individuals genuinely require that intensive level of care. But before making such a profound decision, it's crucial to understand what you might be relinquishing and to explore every alternative. If I could rewind time, I would have fiercely advocated for staying in my own home, seeking out every available support to maintain my independence there. And this is what I urge you to consider: proactive planning and a thorough exploration of alternatives long before a crisis forces a hasty decision. In the United States, there are numerous options that can support aging in place or offer more autonomy than a traditional nursing home. In-home care services are a vital resource. These can range from companion care and help with daily chores like light housekeeping and meal preparation to personal care assistance with bathing and dressing. And even skilled nursing care provided by licensed professionals in the comfort of your own home. Assisted living communities offer another valuable alternative. These are distinctly different from nursing homes, typically providing private apartment-style living with varying levels of support. Residents can receive assistance with medication management. Meals often in communal dining rooms that foster social interaction and personal care, while still maintaining a significant degree of independence and access to social and recreational activities. For those who meet specific eligibility criteria, often needing a nursing home level of care, but able to live safely in the community with support. PACE program of all-inclusive care for the elderly can be an excellent option. PACE is a Medicare and Medicaid program that provides comprehensive medical and social services coordinated by an interdisciplinary team, helping individuals remain in their homes instead of moving to a care facility. Beyond exploring these alternatives, proactive planning is paramount. This involves frank conversations with your family about your wishes regarding future care, well before a health crisis necessitates urgent decisions. It also means getting your legal affairs in order. Ensure you have an up-to-date will, a durable power of attorney for healthcare appointing someone to make medical decisions if you cannot, and a durable power of attorney for finances. An advance directive or living will, clearly stating your preferences for end-of-life care, is also essential. Understanding the financial implications is crucial. Long-term care is expensive. Investigate options like long-term care insurance, ideally when younger, and understand Medicaid eligibility in your state, which often requires spending down assets. If facility-based care becomes the most viable option, research meticulously. Visit multiple facilities at different times. Utilize online resources like Medicare's Nursing Home Compare tool. Speak with current residents and their families if possible. Ask probing questions about staffing ratios, activity programs, and policies on resident autonomy and privacy. Finally, remember the power of advocacy. Be your own best advocate. Or ensure a trusted family member or professional can advocate on your behalf. Your voice, your preferences, and your rights matter deeply. My journey has taught me that the life you cherish, your routines, your independence, your choices, is worth fighting for as long as you possibly can. Arm yourself with knowledge. Explore every avenue. And engage in honest conversations. Make decisions from a place of empowerment, not fear or perceived obligation. Thank you for allowing me to share my story, my regrets, and the lessons learned along the way. I hope these reflections offer some guidance and encouragement as you navigate your own path or assist a loved one. Consider what truly matters for quality of life and make choices that honor that vision.